200 pounds. Yeah. So now, because of the life changes Brian's had, Brian has made his life about helping those who can improve their lives, who want to make changes in their life, however that may be. It's my pleasure to introduce a great friend, a great leader, and a great man, Brian D. Cox.
It's great to be up here. This is something I've started the last couple of years speaking here. Boys State's always had a very important place in my heart ever since I came down as a citizen. And need to touch base on it, but I've lost over 200 pounds, and it started as a kid. So I was always a little bit bigger. I was semi-athletic, but when I got to college and out on my own for the first time, I realized that I lacked basically any knowledge or practical understanding of how to be healthy, nutrition, fitness. You don't get taught that in school nowadays. I think most PE curriculums just your freshman year, if that, of high school. So I got to WVU, and my issues with weight just snowballed out of control. I got to the point where I couldn't walk to class without being physically tired and sweating. I couldn't play basketball. I couldn't go on a hike. I was literally a prisoner in my own body. And it got to the point where I thought, something needs to change. I need to take responsibility for this, or there's going to be major consequences. My blood pressure had started to go up. I had high cholesterol, and this was all at 21 and 22 years old. So I had a lot of difficulties there. Now, I was still able, I never let it determine who I was. I was still active on campus. I joined a fraternity. But it started just to become too physically difficult to be who I wanted to be. So I came up with an action plan. And after a lot of failed attempts, I got together with my family and friends, and we started talking about what I needed to do to become healthier. And when you're first starting to lose weight, it's 70 to 80% diet. So I got with the nutritional program in Morgantown and started to get the results I needed. And then I set outrageous goals. So in the first year, I probably lost about 40 pounds. And I was sitting around with friends one night, and I was still 350 pounds. And through WVU, they offer this program, and it's called Adventure West Virginia. And living in wild and wonderful West Virginia. Anyone who's going to WVU, I encourage you all to check this out. It's one of the best programming options that WVU offers. So they offer programs throughout the state to go kayaking, backpacking, whitewater rafting, but then once a year, they offer programs to New Zealand, the Florida Keys, and then Patagonia down in Chile. And for anyone who knows the brand Patagonia and North Face, those two founders and CEOs took a road trip in the 60s all the way down to that remote location in the tip of South America and rock climbed for 6 months, and they had this transformative experience, and then they came back and started their respective companies. It's a great success story. But we went down, or I told my friends I was going to go down there and I was going to backpack for 6 days and carry everything I needed on my back, and I was going to kayak these glacier lakes. And honest to God, my best friends, they just laughed at me. They said, "There's no way you could do that. Man, that's just a dream. There's no way. You can't even walk up the steps to class." So, hearing the people that were closest to me say that, all that did was just light a fire. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I almost didn't. So anytime you got a big dream, you got to follow through bigger. I was scared of the idea of going down there, but I just committed to it. And I said, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. And when I was standing up atop this mountain in Patagonia, you have glacier lakes over to the right, the most breathtaking vistas you've ever seen over to the left. I was laughing. I got the last laugh. I was laughing with pure joy. It was the most incredible experience. So after that, I thought, let's just run this thing out and see how fit and active I can be. And that's when my dad and I, we planned a trip to the Grand Canyon. So I hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim as well and backpacked across that. So once I started to have success after the first year and 2 years, obviously you can visibly tell that I was getting serious results, and to the point where some people didn't even recognize me. And that was the best compliment I got, because I had changed so much that I was a new person. So people wanted advice. You know, they come to you and they say, well, how did you do that? And what works and what doesn't? And it reaches a point where it's not just about weight loss and fitness, but they see that you've had this great success, and they want to know a little more about what you think about this happening in Morgantown, or what you think about this happening in the state government. So as you develop successes across your life, you can use them to leverage yourself as an opinion leader or an influencer. And this is really where the modern world's going, especially with the internet now. If you can have a presence and present yourself as an expert, that's half the battle. And then I decided, well, people were so interested in what I had done and how I had done it, I decided to switch careers. I've gone into hospitality management once I graduated, worked at Nemacolin for 2 years, and I said, you know, this isn't for me. This isn't where my passion is. So I went back and I got my personal trainer certification, and then I made the jump. So I started out in Morgantown, and now I work out in 3 different gyms. I lead a lot of outdoor fitness classes, and I mean, I'm blessed. I get to help people every day work on some of their biggest weaknesses. A lot of these people have struggled with weight most of their lives, and when someone loses 15 pounds or 30 pounds and they're palpably excited, that's what I live for. That's what I live for. There's no better feeling in the world. So the way I approach it with anyone is, you know, being overweight or looking at a weakness that you have, you know, that doesn't define you. And ultimately, what you can do is you can take the good parts of who you are and come back and fix your weaknesses. I mean, that's the only way it works. But you have to be aware and you have to be real what your weaknesses are. So you got to dream big and follow through bigger. But in doing that, you can't. The worst thing in the world is to go into something unprepared, without a plan, ignorant of what the facts are, what the realities are. So here's my piece of advice for you. Before you make any big decision in your life, do a SWOT analysis. Look at your strengths. You know, this is for you or a group of individuals. Look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your assets, and your threats to success. So strengths, weaknesses, assets, threats. That's the SWOT analysis. And you have to be ruthlessly honest with yourself. That's the only way it works. So what I mean by strength is what you possess in regards to your personality, in regards to skill sets. Weaknesses, that's obviously the other end of that. Where are you exposed? Where could you work better? Assets is more about resources. What do you have at your disposal? See, the fact you went to Mountaineer Boys State, that's an asset now. You can look at this as an opportunity to leverage it into something else. And obviously there's a ton of opportunity here. I mean, just talking to these guys, don't waste the opportunity to get to know your counselors and get to know your fellow citizens, because everyone has a story and everyone's an expert in something. And lastly, threats. Threats is the most difficult thing to be honest about, because that's where you're most heavily exposed. And you know, I look at West Virginia as a state. You can do this same analysis as a state. And I think one of our biggest threats right now is that we don't have the economic development we need to fund our tax base and to fund essential aspects of what makes this state work. So that's where I look at all of you all, and you're the future. You guys are the ones who can shoulder the responsibility, along with people like me and Nima and all the leadership here. All these people here give back and they care, and they're trying to diminish any threats that might affect us, our state, our communities negatively. And you have to be real, you have to be honest about it. So West Virginia needs your help. I mean, we have great people, we're a great state, we're a proud state. We were founded under a moral imperative during the Civil War, and we came out on the right side of history, so don't ever forget that. And I want to leave you with one story from where I hiked the Grand Canyon. You have to put in an application, so you know basically 6 months in advance, and it gets approved by the Park Service if you're going to hike or not. And when I was playing basketball that summer, I had pretty severely injured my ankle. And I thought that it was just a sprain. You know, I'm young, I'm active at this point. I didn't think too much of it. But as I got into training for that hike, it continued to aggravate me. It got better, it flared up a little bit, but ultimately, I said, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I want to do this badly. I'm just going to go for it. So we get out there, and after the first day, you hike down, and I had 40 pounds on my back at this point. So the first day, you hike down about 3,500 vertical feet. So it's a very steep decline into the canyon. And when I got down there, I knew I was in bad shape because my ankle was just throbbing, and I was worried. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it out of there. And by the second day, you get halfway through. And luckily, the way we planned our itinerary, we were staying 2 nights at the second location. So there's this nice, cool, freshwater stream that runs through there and dumps into the Colorado River. So I started icing down my ankle and taking Advil and trying to treat this thing. But finally, when we got going there the last couple of days, I mean, it got to the point where I was in serious pain that was affecting my ability to walk. So, what are you going to do? The only other option is a $10,000 helicopter ride out of the Grand Canyon, and I still don't have that kind of money. So, I just put one foot in front of the other, and I got to the top, and I got home. And when I got to the doctor, it turns out I had fractured my ankle 3 months earlier. So the doctor was astonished, I was astonished, I had no idea. And the reason I tell you this story is it's an analogy for any time you're down in a ditch in life. But you know, look at the state right now. We're not doing the best we can on health or wellness. I don't want to mince words. We come in last on a lot of the main markers of how healthy our people are. So we're kind of down in the canyon right now. But remember this, because no matter how far down you are, or how beat up you are, or when things aren't going right, you know, things are never perfect. So you just got to keep pushing. Put one foot in front of the other, and before you know it, you're going to be in a better position. So never give up, dream big, and follow through bigger. And I guarantee you, when you're going after your dreams, you're going to get beat up. You're going to be down, you're going to be almost out. But it's always darkness right before the dawn. So you just keep pushing, believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and do what it takes. Never ever rest on your laurels. You always have to be bettering yourself and competing in a global economy. I mean, you're not just competing against the guys in this room or the guys in your school and the girls in your school. You're competing across the globe. So remember that. Distinguish yourselves. Stay healthy, stay happy, and the rest will take care of itself. Thank you.